Alright then, people. So, I guess this is a good segue on to our third topic, which we've already talked about, so there's no point building it up. So, given the fact Dragonborn is coming into the next episode, the Lad's Curse struck twice with this episode of Death Battle. We're doing Dragonborn
Why?
We are doing Dragonborn versus Dragonite. I'm represented Dragonborn, ironically, because I was having to go against him when deciding the last episode. And
So, Bill is going to be copying a little bit of my homework.
But there are some things you didn't bring up, which I am looking forward to bringing up myself.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up on purpose because of the rules that we put. We are not counting DLC for the Dragonborn.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to include them for this analysis anyway. But who's representing Dragonite? Steve the Elephant, people! And mate kills him again. No, it's your only mate.
Just sneaks up with a knife, just shank, shank, shank.
No, you did that last time. No, this time, I don't know, we'll have it be a Glock.
Or a lightsaber.
Yeah, I'll edit something in. So yes, your only mate is represented Dragonite. Now you may be thinking, people, okay, why the fuck this episode? This was just a joke between all three of us. Because, ha ha ha, Dragon Slayer versus Dragon, ha ha ha. And originally we were going into it like, it's like Machamp versus Goro. You have a very serious character going up against a cartoon character who this cartoon character can absolutely obliterate the other opponent. That wasn't the case anymore when we started digging into this. Just me playing, like, of course I was committed, I was playing the game and taking notes. And given the lads talking about, or us debating Chosen Undead versus Dragonborn, wow, this fight is much more even than I thought. Just, holy shit, Dragonborn is not a pushover. Like, I think compared to all the Elder Scrolls, like, characters you could control, none of them have fought the powerful opponents that the Dragonborn has.
So, I think people are probably wondering why we specifically chose Dragonite out of all the Dragon-type Pokemon.
Yeah, so my mindset was, who's the most iconic dragon type out of all the Pokemon? And it is Dragonite. Sure, we could have done Charizard, but he's technically not a dragon type unless you Mega Evolve him. And I just feel as though Dragonite would be more interesting because he has more resistances than Charizard does. And also, this is mainly going to stick to... okay, this is going to be weird sound, so let me explain it. So, the Dragonborn's only going to be able to learn magic that he can learn within Skyrim. Whereas Dragonite is only going to be able to learn moves that he can find in Kanto. But regarding, like, level up moves that he can learn with it, as of now, what gen Pokemon is it on now?
I think we're at...
Gen 9, baby!
Jesus Christ.
Are we at Gen 9?
Really?
Yeah, Scarlet Violet.
Wow.
Oh yeah, shit.
Alright, so whatever moves the Dragonite can learn while leveling up in Gen 9, we're going to allow just because if we were to go by just Gen 1 level ups, Dragonite barely learned shit.
Yeah, Dragonite would have nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't even...
Most Pokemon would have bare bones.
Yeah, but of course TMs you can find within Kanto. We'll go with like Fire Red remake or what was the latest Pokemon? Oh, Let's Go.
The Let's Go games.
Yeah, whatever TM you can find within Kanto and that's going to be allowed. Similar to Dragon Ball, whatever magic he can learn that you don't buy within a store. Because I wanted to be fair on this. I didn't buy any magic in stores. I just went with spells I find within the world, just to make it fair.
I do want to ask this. Do we want to count terrestrialization for Dragonite?
Well, this will depend on realistically the trainers. But we're not going to include. But I feel as though like.
Oh,
what does
crystallization is like?
Well, no. Here's the thing. In Scarlet and Violet, you can find Pokemon that are already terrestrialized, including Pokemon like Garchomp. So, if Dragonite naturally spawns in with a Terra type, I would say yes, that is fair game.
Okay, fair enough.
But then couldn't we also like have a Dragonite naturally be Dynamaxed?
no, because with Dynamax, there is no Pokemon in that region that is naturally Dynamax. In
What about all the
region, there are
dens?
Pokemon that are. If there is one natural, well, you can only have one mechanic at a time in the Pokemon games. Is the thing. So
Yeah, I'm not even like really thinking about those.
I mean, if we had to do transformations, then I would say we'll give the Dragonborn the ability to then turn to a werewolf. I mean, not as impressive as what is decrystallization? Like, what does that do?
It just changes your type.
Oh, that's shit.
Yeah,
There's no point.
It's so fucking lame. Bring back Mega Evolution, Game Freak. Jesus.
Okay. Hot take. Terrestrialization's one of the better things we've gotten, because not only can you change your typing, but you get a unique move called Terra Blast, which any Pokemon can learn, and it does damage based off your Terra type. And you get double stab if it's like a Dragon Terra type, for example. So you would do more damage.
Sean, I would... Yeah, given that shout your early mate just gave me, which... Are you sure, mate, you don't want to represent Dragonborn for this fight? Because you seem to have the shouts down. But, yeah. But
you know what? It's probably too late, but can I just play Dragonborn in the death battle? My audition is just... Forsuda!
Okay, before we go deaf, let's actually just get around to talking about this episode. We're nearly at the 2-hour mark.
Okay.
So
I set the... I'm going to be the MC of this, so I have the timer set for 10 minutes for each of you to explain each character.
Then 30 minutes.
That's what we did for Nora and Reinhardt.
Yeah, then like...
And then 15 minutes for debate.
Should we make it 30 minutes?
For the debate?
Yeah.
I think 15 minutes is fine. Me and Mate did Nora and Ryan in 15.
No, we did that
45.
45 minutes, actually.
Oh, no. Like, we broke down each segment, is what I meant. 10 minutes for Dragonborn, 10 minutes for Dragonite, 15 minutes overall.
All right, well, fair enough. Let's go with that. And to be fair, that will give us time to actually debate.
Okay, so...
Plus, I don't want to be on for too much longer.
Fair point.
I have 10 minutes on the clock. Dragonborn is up first. So, Bill, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Debate!
Right then, so we've already covered the Dragonborn story and stuff like that. Now let's go over many abilities and feats that the Dragonborn has done that I think could give him more of an edge against Dragonite. So, during the Mage story arc, where you went into a Mage college, you would meet a Falmar, which is basically a high elf, who was trying to unlock this specialized orb that would grant him, pretty much godlike powers, the ability to stop time and rewrite all of magic within Skyrim. However, when the Dragonborn was in the room with all these other powerful mages, that high elf would freeze time and then even froze the warriors, or the other mages, except for Dragonborn. Because his mana was able to resist it, so they had to fight on equal footing. And eventually, Dragonborn would overwhelm this ability to freeze time orb and just manage to just basically, kill him, whatever way you felt like, stabbing him or using his own magic. Even when other characters have frozen time, he's actually been able to be okay with the effects, even from Dragon Shouts. Sure, when it came to the other Dragon Shout that slowed down time, he was slowed down a little bit, but not as affected as much as all the other characters. But then, if we weren't to just count that, let's also talk about Alduin, without a doubt the most iconic boss in the entire game. So, when the Dragonborn went up against Alduin, you were given stories about Alduin. And one of the biggest stories was that, even though he's called the World Eater, that's not entirely accurate. Because, as stated, Alduin was said to devour all of existence, just so the gods can then rewrite and rebuild the world. Alduin was basically the Shao Kahn of Skyrim. And yet, as Sean pointed out in the Chosen Undead vs. Dragonborn thing, we defeated him twice. Once in the real world, and the second time he had to retreat to heal. To which the Dragonborn just then went into the afterlife to finish him off. Yes, and not only that, the Dragonborn and Alduin are both descendants of a reality warping god. Like, It's not exactly a small feat. Now, if we also had to talk from experience, he's faced so many fighters that are like thousands of years old, like vampires, and this feat, which I was surprised by, which Jara even helped me out with this, in one of the DLC stories, you have to find this bow, which you may be thinking, what's so important about this bow? Well, just conveniently, when the arrows are glazed in blood and this arrow fires at the sun, it will create an eclipse. And how does this work, you say? You have to literally shoot the sun. And how long does it take for the arrow to reach it? 5 seconds. The Dragonborn drew his arrow and fired at the sun. It took 5 seconds and the world was in an eclipse. Like, that is insane. And if we would just go by all these shouts, so one of the ones that I think is going to come into a big work is this thing called Animal Alliance, in which animals would have to stop fighting the Dragonborn. There's also Battle Fury, which basically grants him like increased damage. Become Ethereal, which makes him intangible and immune to damage. Of course, this also means he can't attack, but that's enough time to just stop Dragonite from attacking him just so he could heal. And of course, oh, big shock, he has ice abilities, not just his magic, but his shouts. He could freeze Dragonite instantly with one of his shouts, or just damage him with just a frost shout, which, if one of its effects, it makes you slower. Dragon Rend, which is definitely one of the biggest ones, could ground a dragon. Even Alduin, this descendant of a god, couldn't resist it. Now, this isn't something like, oh, does it like make you heavier or something like that? No, it literally breaks your mind and you are forced to land. And given the fact Pokemon are susceptible to psychic type attacks, unless you're a dark type, yeah, that's Dragonite's gonna have to fight the Dragonborn on the ground. And as we've seen in the animes and manga have confirmed this, Dragonites aren't fast on the ground. That's why they're part flying types. They have to stay in the air to fight. The other ability it has is, I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, Kenny's Peace. I'm not sure if that is accurate. I might have just read that wrong.
I'm going to stop you right there. It is pronounced Kind's Peace.
Okay, then. Kenny's Peace, basically anything that's attacking, whether it's animal or man, they stop fighting him. Soul Tear, as Sean already pointed out. Slow Time, we already know what that does. Unrelenting Force, which it only staggers, but when upgraded enough, can literally send you flying and daze you. Storm Call, basically summon undodgeable lightning. And though Dragonite is a dragon type, so slight resistance to electric type attacks, his part flying type though does make him neutral to those sort of hits. And of course, they're unavoidable. It's pretty much aerial ace. Like, you can't dodge that shit. Even if you go intangible, it would still hit you, because, well, you're a living person, so the storm would hit you. Now, of course, there are other dragon type of abilities that he can't learn, so there's no point going through those. I just didn't see the point. He can also, but let's also look at enchantments, which is something we never talked about in the actual analysis. One of the abilities is paralysis. When he could cover his blade in or he can make his sword have the ability to just paralyze you for even just 5 seconds. But in those 5 seconds, Dragonite is pretty much vulnerable to anything, really. Like, what's stopping the Dragon Ball from just spamming an ice ability until eventually Dragonite falls? Because, as we know, Dragonite, as powerful as it is, one Blizzard, one Ice Beam, Dragonite is out. Hell, in the Pokemon manga, apparently an Ice Beam's strong enough to take out a Magmar. Which, I'm not sure if that's just bad writing in the manga case, but yeah, when a Pokemon that powerful, or not even as powerful as Dragonite, can be frozen, then yeah, it's probably understandable why that would work. And these ice abilities have worked on dragons before, so who's to say it wouldn't work on Dragonite? And of course, he can also summon all sorts of spirits. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go with summoning dragons because that's just a cheap move, but he could summon like ancient warriors to fight alongside him, including ancient warriors that helped defeat Alduin. So he's basically got other characters that are capable of fighting this demigod to then fight Dragonite. He can even summon demons from hell, essentially. It's like, yeah, Dragonite's going to have a tough fight on his hand because Dragonborn just seems to have so much ability to, like, 2 minutes warning. I know, I'm also timing it myself, Sean. I'm trying to get the important stuff. Yeah, there's just so many abilities that Dragonborn has that, honestly, Dragonite isn't going to take advantage of. Hell, I mean, Dragonite can learn Ice-type moves. Like Sean mentioned in the analysis, he's partially resistant to ice things. Sure, you could potentially freeze the Dragonborn, but he would break out of that in seconds. Which has happened when the Greybeards have frozen the Dragonborn, he's instantly broken out of it. Hell, if you can't even freeze a Greybeard permanently and they can shatter out of the ice, that just goes to show, like, even someone who's not as powerful as Dragonborn is capable of doing feats that, well, Dragonborn's able to. I mean, even their shouts, in the lore-wise, can disintegrate you. Now, of course, Dragonborn does hold back a lot, but when it's a very serious fight, yeah, Dragonborn is going to be throwing, like, everything at Dragonite if he starts pulling up a bit of a fight. I think I'll save it now, 'cause it's only a few seconds before we're done. I've said all the main things, and I want to save a lot of stuff for the main debate, so I guess we'll give this to Mate now.
Alright, you had 40 seconds on the clock.
And
Mate, I will be giving you those 40 seconds extra for your time. Definitely some interesting points, though, from Billy. Though I do have some questions I am going to ask about.
of course, but let's let Mate have the dance floor.
Alright, Mate, are you ready?
More or less.
Again, I am giving you the 40 seconds Bill did not use, so you have 10 minutes and 40 seconds.
Hey, no
3,
fair.
2.
Yeah, like, let's not.
Alright, let me fix the timer thing real quick.
No, I was only joking. No, it's fine.
Well, Mate also says he'd rather not, so 10 minutes it is.
Alright, fair enough.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, so Dragonite, originating from the Kanto region. It begins its life as an adorable little Dratini. And we've seen Dratini, it's adorable, come on. Soon it evolves into a graceful Dragonair, then finally it evolves into a Pokemon that should have one of the best reputations in the franchise, I think, because it's used by some big names in the Pokemon world. Like, it's the signature Pokemon for Lance, who in the anime, and also you could count this for the games too, is the champion of both the Kanto and Johto region. It's used, again, in the anime by Iris, who is the champion of Unova, and used by our boy Ash Ketchum, who is the world champion. Thank you, Pokemon Journeys. So a lot of big names use Dragonite, and for good reason. It's quite powerful. It's a pseudo-legendary, which, for those not in the know, that's a type of Pokemon which its base stat total is just shy of being considered a legendary Pokemon. And legendaries can have a base stat total from around like 600 to 720, thereabouts. Yeah, Dragonite's base stat total is 600. I can also learn a wide variety of moves, like, of course, Dragon type, Flying type, Electric type, Water type, Ice type, Fire type. It can learn a lot of stuff. From straight up doing damage, to status effects, stat boosting, stat debuffs. Yeah, how many of the moves do I want to just, like, go over?
I mean, we're going to debate them all, so...
Yeah, whatever you feel like you want to bring up.
Okay, well... Alright, a big thing is Safeguard, which protects it from any status condition. So once Safeguard is up, like, try and paralyze, freeze, burn, or whatever to a Dragonite, ain't gonna fly. And you guys mentioned how, like, the Dragonborn can summon storms. Fun fact! Dragonite can do that too! Through naturally learning or through TMs, it can learn the moves Sunny Day, Rain Dance, Hail, and Sandstorm. So Dragonborn tries creating that storm. Dragonite could just turn it into a sunny afternoon. Or a rainstorm, or whatever. And Bill, you mentioned the move Aerial Ace earlier. That is a move the Dragonite can learn, and like you said, it never misses. It can also learn, like, Extreme Speed, which is a priority move, so it goes super fast. Let's see. Oh yeah, it can also learn, like, self-healing, including the move Roost, which is a flying type move that can restore HP by 50%. Very useful move. And other high powerful moves like, you know, Dragon Pulse, Flamethrower, Thunder, Ice Beam, Dragon Rush, Hyper Beam, which is one of the most powerful moves in the games. And there's also, like, Thunder Wave, which can inflict paralysis, Agility to boost its speed, Dragon Dance, which will boost its speed and attack, Leer, which will lower an enemy's defense. Yes, it can look at you and make you weaker. Because that's how Pokemon works, I guess. Let's see. Oh, and I do have to ask, what gender Dragonite are we using?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does, because one move that it can learn is Attract, which will infatuate any target that's of the opposite sex, and this will include Pokemon that aren't even of the same egg group, so they can't breed. So if it's a female Dragonite we're using, it could just use Attract, and the Dragonborn's in love with it. Pokemon is weird. And through TMs, it can also learn the move Secret Power, which has a 30% chance of inflicting a status depending on where they're fighting. This can be like paralysis, causing flinch, causing confusion, poison, sleep, or lowering various stats. Rock Tomb, which can lower speed, and should also know that any of the fire-type moves it uses has a 30% chance of inflicting burn. Electric types will have a 30% chance of inflicting paralysis, which you mentioned in Skyrim, it will wear off after a bit. That's not the case for Pokemon. Paralysis in the Pokemon world, that lasts for the duration of the battle unless you're able to, like, cure it with, like, an item or, like, a move or ability. Like, that's all. So I guess you could make the argument that it could just wear off Dragonborn anyway, but yeah. And speaking of abilities, I did not mention Dragonite. It has two abilities. Well, of course, like, a Dragonite can only have one ability at a time, but I thought I'd bring up both of them. One is Inner Focus, which will prevent it from flinching. And the other is Multi-Scale, which reduces the damage it takes when its HP is full. And given that it can, you know Roost and restore its health, I think that's going to help a lot. And I mentioned how the Dragonite is a pseudo-legendary, so it's just shy of being a legendary. There are anime feats in which you could argue, it should be on par with legendary Pokemon. Like, Drake's Dragonite, who was able to fight Ash's Pikachu and Charizard. It was made very clear in that fight that, no, Ash, like, one of his Pokemon could not take on that Dragonite. In the movie Pokemon 2000, Pikachu and Charizard were able to match Zapdos and Moltres. Later on in the end of the Unova season, thank you for the 2 morning. I was wondering when that was coming, Sean. Iris's Dragonite was able to go toe-to-toe with Ash's Charizard, who, in later seasons, was able to defeat an Articuno. So, I think it scales pretty well to all 3 of the legendary birds. And I mentioned Ash's Dragonite, it was able to defeat a Mega Lucario. Yeah, it can take on Mega Pokemon who, some of them can take on Pokemon that are capable of altering the planet, like Kyogre and Groudon. Dragonite is nuts. It's a awesome Pokemon that, honestly, you put it on your team, you're looking pretty damn good. I don't want this to drag on, so we'll just say Dragonborn's going down tonight. I don't know how else I was going to end that.
1 minute was left on the clock. Well done.
Right, and so I guess now it's time for the debate. Damn it. I think this is actually the first time me and Mate have actually debated, is it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wow. We need to find a freeway lads debate someday.
Oh my.
God damn it, Billy, phrasing!
God damn it, that was my fault. I'm sorry.
So, I have set the timer for 15 minutes. We are going to debate this. I have some questions of my own. I will bring up every now and then.
All right, then.
Because, oh boy, this is really interesting.
Right, then. So, shall I start now, since it's Dragonborn versus Dragonite?
So, the debate is going to start in 3, 2, 1, debate!
Right, then. So, Mate, you mentioned how the stats thing, right? How they could be inflicted on Dragonborn? Not
status conditions and, stat debuffs, yeah.
Lee's scary face and all that. Might not work on Dragonborn, because in the Pokemon world, it's been established a whole Leer thing and stuff like that. It's meant to be like they're being intimidated by the Pokemon, so they're letting their guard down. Dragonborn, though, do you remember how I mentioned there's that ability that makes animals and people flee when a shout or a spell? Dragonborn's actually one of the few people in Skyrim that can resist those.
Quick correction, Animal Allegiance would not work on Dragonite since he is considered a pocket monster. Monsters are not animals. So Animal Allegiance is not going to work on Dragonite.
And even then, there's Safeguard, which could protect it from that anyway.
Technically, Pokemon are considered animals, in many stories. But even monsters have also been affected by the shout. But the point is, yeah, those things that will be status effects on, that you said, like paralysis, stuff like that. Dragonborn...
Hold on, Mate, in the Pokedex, what category of Pokemon is Dragonite? Is he just considered the Dragon Pokemon?
Hold on.
Because if he's just considered the Dragon Pokemon, then by logic, he'd be considered a dragon, and dragons aren't affected by Animal Allegiance.
Well, the dragons in the Skyrim are very different from, the Pokemon dragons, because Pokemon dragons are essentially animals, whereas the ones in Skyrim are immortal entities and demigods. They have
it's stated in the anime Pokedex a couple times. Dragonite, the dragon Pokemon.
Okay, yeah, so Animal Allegiance is most likely not going to work on Dragonite.
Alright, well, we'll say even if he doesn't have that, though, there's just so many other abilities, though, he has. Like, you mentioned, paralysis and stuff like that. Most of those paralysis comes from, electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, during my journey, I'm now level 60 at Skyrim. I know, people, I was really invested in this debate, let's just say. I managed to get one of my armors enchanted, and this was armors I found off enemies and bosses. I was able to get my armor to be 68, I was really pissed off it wasn't 69, resistant to electricity, fire, and magic. So most of the time when I would be hit by lightning or fire, I could just walk through it and barely lose any health.
Well, Thunder Wave specifically, I believe, is a status move, not an actual physical attack.
Yeah.
So does the Dragonborn have a specific counter to that, is what I'm going to ask.
Oh, yes. He could either just do the wards, which, as I stated before, can block the power of a demigod, can go ethereal, which basically means transparent, or he could just move out of the way of the Sphinx, because it can be dodged. Pokemon have even slow Pokemon like Slackoth can avoid it. So who's...
Oh, going with Slowpoke.
There's also the fact that Safeguard may also be concerning, because that would mean a lot of Dragonborn students wouldn't actually do anything.
Not actually true. Because though he would be, like, resistant to the effects of them, he could still be damaged by them. Like I said, Ice Breath, sure, he might not be able to freeze him anymore. He still takes the quad damage, though, from just one Ice Breath. Sure, he won't be frozen or slowed down, but what's to stop him from just taking that quad damage from Dragonborn?
It's possible that Dragonite doesn't get that quad weakness due to Roost. If I recall, Roost negates your flying type, correct?
Don't believe so.
And I'll double check that.
Technically speaking, if Dragonite were to Roost, that would mean that the quad effectiveness would go away, taking away another advantage Dragonborn has.
Even then, he would still take super effective damage, and as seen before, Ice Beam, even if we were to assume it wouldn't do quad damage, just one Ice Beam is capable of knocking Dragonite into yellow. Because weaker Pokemon that are just like only singly affected by, or double affected by an Ice type move, usually an Ice Beam would knock them into the, yellow. And the other thing as well is that Dragon Ball just has many advantages with his weaponry. He could pull out weapons that could drain health. He could pull out weaponry that makes Dragonite go insane, because a lot of Dragonborn's arsenal is mentally effective. Like, sure, he could do Safeguard, but he could still be hit by, like, Psychic's Confusion, right? Like...
No, I think Safeguard still protects from that.
Okay.
Double check that, Sean, just in case.
I'll double check it as well. By the way, Sean was right. Roost would take away the Dragon type, Flying type.
Another question for Billy here. What is Dragonborn's defense against the move Attract?
He's a human. We've never seen Attract work on a human. But again, the other thing, Attract affects you mentally. And again, Dragonborn has been stated that, or not even just stated, but shown, a lot of mental-based attacks would not affect Dragonborn. Like I said, do you remember that wizard that tried to freeze time and he tried to use it on Dragonborn? That was a mental thing. They were mentally paralyzed because they could still see what was going on. But Dragonborn, despite that this was a reality warping move, he was able to fight the same character. And if we go with someone like Maverick, is that the name right? Maverick, or am I getting the name wrong? The Dragonborn? Mirak. His shouts can alter another universe, Oblivion. That's a whole other universe within the Elder Scrolls. Yet his shouts could alter it, yet the Dragonborn was able to resist many of these shouts that would mentally affect you. Whereas Dragonite has shown, Attract, that would affect you. Now, if we were to solely base that one Safeguard to be the determining factor, I don't think that's the case, because when you take everything else into consideration, there's a lot of disadvantages Dragonite has.
Well, there's another question I do want to ask Mate, because this is also a move that Dragonite may be able to learn, and which might also help him out. Does Dragonite know the move Mist?
Mist. I don't believe so, either by, like, natural level up or by TM.
That is also a problem, because with abilities like Kind's Peace, not Kind's Peace, Dismay, I believe it's called. Which one was it? But there is a move called where it marks you for death that actually does weaken you, so Dragonborn has that, so he can weaken Dragonite if Dragonite had Mist, so that would make that move useless. Well, it sounds like they can both weaken each other in a sense when it comes to status moves. But more so that Dragonborn would be able to do it easily.
The other thing I wanted to bring up as well is the fact, if you were to take in, like, the experience, Dragonite sure is capable of fighting other dragons, but he's also weak.
Hold on, mate, go ahead.
Okay, Sean, Dragonite can learn Mist, but it's an egg move.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a thing in this by the rules that we set.
Even then, Dragonborn could just scare away the Mist with his Clear Sky. Like, just shout it away. And that's the other thing I wanted to bring up, mate. So you wanted to be like, oh, well, couldn't he just do like this? Like, obviously this wouldn't work on sunny day, but if we were to say like, oh, Rain Dance, Dragonborn could just shout away those clouds.
Okay, so here's the thing also with one of the weather moves, because they changed it up in Gen 9. Hail actually gives ice types a defense buff. Would that apply to Dragonborn because of the Nord culture?
Actually, it would, because according to the lore, Nords generally don't feel the cold, and they are also capable of learning ice-type magic better than other species.
That is a problem, but again, this was a recent change made to Gen 9.
In fact,
it used to be it does damage people.
This is actually...
That's something I am curious about.
Here's actually another thing. Dragon Ball doesn't even really need to fight the Dragonite head-on. Because stealth, if you were to max out the stealth trait, Dragon Ball could just disappear on the spot. So what could he do by doing that? Set traps, like magical traps that paralyze you, explode. Or another thing, he could use ice spikes, which, if you don't know, are like almost like light speed, like magical abilities that once struck you, you are instantly slowed down. Now you may think, is that a status move? No, because apparently the ice is slowing you down because, well, you have a fucking giant ice thing stabbed into you.
Okay, then it comes down to, does Dragonite know moves like Protect, for example? Because with Protect, that is something not even the Dragonborn can penetrate.
Actually, I have a counter to that, if that is true, but I want to hear if it is true. I'm pretty sure every Pokemon can learn Protect, right?
Yeah, every Pokemon can learn Protect, including Dragonite, but I think I couldn't find it in Kanto in any of the games.
Okay, because here's the thing.
In terms of, just on the floor.
Alright, because here's my counter to that. In the Pokemon anime, Gary's Electabuzz used Protect, but a Registeel was able to one-shot it. Now, apparently Registeel is said to... Isn't that one of the Pokemon that's said to move continents?
Yeah, and... Oh, actually, that might help out, Dragonite as well, now I think about it, because I mentioned Ash's Pikachu.
Oh, no, but here was my main point. So, you remember in Dragonborn vs. Chosen Undead, that shout I brought up was felt across the entire world, and a whisper from a Dragonborn or even a Greybeard is enough to disintegrate someone or even cause earthquakes. Well, if that's the case, then all Dragonite needs to do is just do his shout, and as shown in not only the anime but game as well, because sure, Protect says you are protected, but if you continue using Protect, it becomes weaker and weaker to the point it wouldn't work. So Dragonborn, if Dragonite does use that tactic of stalling, Dragonborn's just eventually just going to bust open that shield.
The problem with that is the time limit on the shouts. They have a cooldown.
That is true, but in the context of Pokemon, those shouts don't really last as long. Plus, when it comes to a lot of the Pokemon...
Can we then equivalent it to something like Hyper Beam, where you have to wait a little bit before using another move or something?
Here's the difference. Now, here's the difference between a Hyper Beam and a Dragon Shout. When a Dragonborn uses the Shout, they can still maneuver around and use other abilities. There's So let's say, okay, he's used this Shout to weaken Dragonite. Okay, so he has to wait a total of 15 seconds. What could he do to counter this? Oh, I'll drink this potion that makes me ethereal for a total of 3 minutes. Unless I attack Dragonite. So if he just doesn't attack Dragonite, he could just stay in this form and Dragonite is unable to attack him, and then, oh great, my shout's back. Let me summon an undodgeable storm.
Well, that
hold on, if we're given the
time to recover too, is your issue. And given how Dragonite can recover a lot better naturally compared to the Dragonborn's limited supply, that's a big concern.
That's actually not true, because he can learn healing spells. He can just summon his hand to summon the light to just heal him on the battle. It can be instantly, or it can just prolong it. Like I said, with the stealth abilities, he could just turn invisible, or just use a spell turn invisible, run somewhere and heal, whereas Dragonite doesn't have that advantage.
Even if you're healing yourself in stealth, it's possible Dragonite can still hear it.
Potentially, but let's also look into the other thing like their stats. Has Dragonite shown light speed abilities, or even the ability to win on a one-on-one fight against a godlike entity? Like Dragonborn.
I mean, you could probably just, use a Dragonite to take on, Pokemon like Dialga and Palkia, if you really wanted to.
Well, here's the thing about Ash's Pikachu. It's fought Pokemon that are considered gods, and Dragonite was able to beat it.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically, if we go by Drake's Dragonite, like, no, Ash's Pikachu did defeat it, but it was made very clear that Ash had to, like, throw his other Pokemon at it first.
The other thing that is a big counter that I think is also a clear thing is the ability to just fire arrows at light speed. Because, sure, you may say arrows aren't really that powerful. They can leave effects as well, and they've been able to one-shot dragons. Like, and the Dragonborn's known to create all sorts of powerful weaponry thanks to enchantment. He could just make an arrow that would instantly kill Dragonite. Obviously, that's a very, specific win condition, but let's also look at all the other things. He could fire an arrow at the sun in nothing but 5 seconds and just make a world eclipse. So that much power behind a bow and arrow shows he's not only strong, but fast enough to react to someone like Dragonite, even with something like extreme speed. Because he's also dealt with Alduin, who is said to be a universe ender. I mean, that's not the technical word they use, but it was stated in the lore from the Greybeards. Alduin would destroy the world and worlds beyond it, to then for the gods to come and rebuild. He's literally known as the World Ender. And guess what? Dragonborn beat him twice. And like I said, his shouts...
Technically the second time he needed help.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Alduin was weakened at that point. So Dragon Ball just finished him off. And the other thing that's a thing, the other thing, the other thing.
Where's Chandler here?
The other thing that's really a big win condition, his shouts are just so powerful. Slow down time, create a storm that is unavoidable, that can spread all across. The ability to turn a cathedral, and even just weaken him with what's it called, the shout of death.
All right, time is up for the debate.
And I mean, I had some more questions.
Okay, yeah. Do we have an extra 10 minutes? Is that be enough?
Well, maybe not 10. I only had one thing there, just regards status conditions.
Let's talk about a few things, and yeah, we'll make a quick final claim.
Yeah, because there are certain Pokemon status conditions that can stack. Like you can stack Confusion or Infatuation, or even both, over the likes of Burn, Paralysis, Sleep, or Frozen. And Dragonite can use any of those. Even has Hurricane, which creates a hurricane and has a 30% chance of inflicting confusion, or it can just inflict confusion via secret power, depending on where they're fighting. So inflict paralysis, so there's a chance that Dragonborn won't even be able to move. Have confusion, so there's a chance Dragonborn will just hit himself.
That wouldn't actually work.
Inflict infatuation, so Dragonborn could just be like, no, I can't attack it. And I think I said a fourth one, didn't I?
Yeah, okay, mate. Did you not?
Wait,
do you remember what I said before, though? That these are mental type attacks, and Dragonborn has shown he can resist mental attacks. And again,
paralysis isn't mental.
No, but guess what? He actually has a counter to that, Cure Potion, which basically removes any bad status effect, and those are stated in the game to be status effects.
Okay, so now my question is, if we're allowing items for Dragonborn, couldn't we also give that to Dragonite as well?
Here's a difference,
Here's my thing. I can make cases for both with and without items. Okay, so here's the logic so far.
All right.
Okay.
I was going to say he can make those, whereas Dragonite can't.
Well,
I can also just eat a berry.
Yeah, but here's the thing. From what I've gathered from both you guys, to my genuine surprise, Dragonite has more counters to the Zoom than I thought. Especially considering, Safeguard means that Frostform is going to be practically useless. He can't be burned with Fire Breath.
Again, though, these are just one abilities out of hundreds he can learn.
And technically, this arm's going to be useless because Dragonite's not wielding any weapons.
Oh yeah,
these guys, the two can just battle back and forth with weather. Even if the Dragonborn can call a dragon, Dragonite can probably beat it pretty easily.
No, not the dragons that Dragonborn can summon.
Bro, Voice is not going to do anything. Solitaire, obviously, we can't give the Dragonborn in this specific debate.
Wait, why not?
Because that requires the DLC of Dawnguard. We said no DLCs.
Wait, what? When did we say that? I thought we just meant like...
When we were bringing this up.
But these are canon to his story. And not only that, the feat of the light speed thing with the arrow, that's from the DLC.
Wait, didn't we? No, I remember you saying, like, you weren't looking into DLC for this.
Yeah, I wasn't going to look into everything about DLC because it will take me so long to do it. However, for the last second, I'm not saying I'm excluding that. Because if we're allowing the Dragonborn to learn Gen 9 moves, then he should be allowed to have feats that are in the game of Skyrim.
Here's the thing, okay? It is possible that the Dragonborn can also miss these shouts if they're too far away. Right? Because with the shouts, they're like a cone of an echo of sorts. They go straightwards. They aren't like a fast, like, straight beam. It's more like a cone that disperses as it goes far away.
Except for Dragon Rend, if he just shouts that just near the dragon, then they would be forced onto their feet.
So it comes down to, is it logically possible for the Dragonborn to hit Dragonite with that shout?
Oh yeah,
I think initially with Protect, no. It's not going to affect the Dragonite who is using Protect.
Yeah, I don't think, like, given the rules we set, Dragonite can't have Protect.
Right, but
then again, it's also possible to just avoid it, which can just happen in Pokemon games. It'll say, oh, your Pokemon avoided this attack.
However, I will say this, that while Dragonite's defenses are a lot better than the Dragonborn's, the Dragonborn is definitely the superior fighter of the two and has a lot more options to fight. Whereas with Dragonite, once he's out of PP for all his moves, he's basically got nothing but regular bites and claw attacks. Whereas sure, if Dragonborn's out of mana or shouts, he has weapons at his disposal.
Or he could just bring back his abilities with his enchanted armors or his potions. Like, one of the items you can give... Right, sorry, this will be the last thing I'll say.
Scenarios.
Like, one of the mage's armors you can get in the Mage Guild restores your mana by 100% of its original speed. And yes, I do use that ability in the game. It is fucking broken. I love it.
Can't we also apply that to Dragonite? Because there are, like, items and berries that can restore PP.
Again, though, these are things that can you find them in Kanto, and does he know how to use a lot of these, and can he make them himself?
With berries, you just eat them naturally as you find them.
Yeah,
like,
that is true.
If we're giving the Dragonborn potions, it's fair to give them berries to restore PP. But still, like...
So basically, it would cancel each other out, I guess.
But still, Dragonborn has the versatility edge. I would like to say, you know, that's concrete, right?
In terms of just, like, overall, like, ability, then yeah, but I think in terms of, like, just type, then it's relatively even.
Another thing as well is that, like, there's one Nord ability that the Nords have in Battle Fury to make people like Dragonite possibly be feared of them. But there is a counter to that, surprisingly, that May brought up called Inner Focus.
That's a natural ability. It just prevents Dragonite from flinching.
Still, we've seen Pokemon flinch and be frightful in the anime, like when Paul's Magmar fought one of the Reggies.
But the thing that might counter-argue it, that's more like a will thing. Like, it scares you that you have to flee. And even in a focused Pokemon have been affected by mental attacks.
But also, with the status increase Dragonite does have, I'm not sure it's going to be quite enough to get past the natural defenses of a Dragonborn. Because the Dragonborn can also increase its defenses thanks to, I believe it is the Alteration Tree, with spells like Ebony Flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both going to make themselves extremely bulky. And sure, time speed can ensure that the Dragonborn is faster. Same can be said with agility for Dragonite.
And Dragondons.
Well, yeah, the main problem I see is that whose abilities are going to give out first. Because if Dragonite can't fly thanks to moves like Roost or, you know, Dragon Rend, it's going to come down to a close range brawl.
No, Roost would just take away the typing. It wouldn't take away its ability to fly.
Still, okay, yeah.
Like, there are Pokemon that have wings and can fly, like Flygon, that aren't dragon types. I mean, that aren't flying types, sorry.
There is still one specific ability, not counting DLC, that I can't see the Dragonite countering, is Dragon Rend. I can't logically think of anything that Dragonite has to disable Dragon Rend. That's
a soul absorption thing, right?
No, Dragon Rend is the shot that forces a dragon to land, which means which means the Dragonborn would be able to get in close.
Oh, so it's similar to like the Pokemon move
Smackdown.
I was thinking of someone else. Isn't there like a gravity?
Yeah, gravity.
Yeah, gravity.
There we go.
I think Conquer Fable learned that.
So, while I am genuinely shocked at the amount of defenses Dragonite does have, as well as those stats conditions. The fact that the Dragonborn has a better fighting experience as well.
Sean, you cut out for us. Are you there?
I think he's dead.
Oh, we'll
wow, that's timing. Jesus.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
All right.
Sorry, it's just I said I think he's dead, and then immediately just like it came up. Sean left.
So here's the thing. All right, this is just really hard to say for me personally. While the Dragonite's defenses are extremely impressive and can counter a lot of what the Dragonborn can do,
including affecting Dragonborn's own stats.
The fact of the matter is that the Dragonborn can force Dragonite to land on the ground and take it up close. And when it comes down to a close range fight, that's where the Dragonborn is going to take this fight. So, in my honest opinion, the winner of this last debate is the Dragonborn.
I swear to God, if Dragonborn also wins the death battle, I'll be pissed.
It's close. At the end of the day, it is really close. But there's no counter to Dragon Rend, which can allow the Dragonborn to get close.
Yeah, GG. So does this mean that each one of us has won a lads debate now?
Yeah, mate, you did a phenomenal job with Dragonite.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised how many of the stats. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull out the big guns because that safeguard seems to be the bane to my existence.
That's the
there's
biggest
also
counter. You know?
Hold on, does Dragonborn have a way to increase his speed?
Yes. Battle Fury.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking then Rock Tomb could just fuck him up.
Oh. As well as Whirlwind Sprint, which we didn't bring up, which can allow him just to quickly dash.
Yeah, but I was thinking because of how he's reacted to light speed stuff, that is it really worth bringing up something that makes him move even faster than that? When I'm like just the Sun Feet, I thought would be enough.
Even still, like it is possible Dragonite could exceed that, but he doesn't have specific counters to like the big trump card in Dragonborn's favor, which again is Dragon Rend.
Yeah, like it, and it's not like it's just like a specific like non-canon thing that the player has to choose. No, you get that. Like
if I were to give like out of 100 times, this is how I would say the Dragonborn would win 56 times, Dragonite would win 44.
But of course, I may have won the episode, but I guess a good way to end this lads debate off. What do you people think of this episode? Who do you think would win, Dragonborn or Dragonite?
Leave a comment down below, and if the poll somehow says Dragonite wins, Bill, we're going to be winless.
No, I'll still technically have won an episode, but of course it just depends on what people think.
I have to admit, I will laugh if that happens.
Because by that logic, then no one won Heracross versus Sizzle. Because that ended in a draw. We need to do a rematch of that.
What if this is a tie? What if this is a fucking tie?
It better not. It better fucking not be. But I'll put up a poll when this episode comes live, so we will see who is the winner. But GG, mate. So I guess I can't remember what the next lad debate is going to be, but we'll announce that perhaps soon. But
I think I know what it is. I think it depends because I put the trailer for it in our private chat.
Okay, if that was going to be...
use that one.
I guess we'll do that one next.
I mean,
but,
hey, do you want to do that one next for our lads debate?
What was that? Let me go back and check. Oh, that one.
Yeah, I mean, but that will be a mate and Sean lads debate. But of course, we'll try and find a schedule when we can do that, as well as talk about Death Battle. But how have we been recording for? 2 hours and 42 minutes. So we should probably wrap this up now.
Fair enough.
But
Okay, and I've got a show that I want to watch in 5 minutes. Also, I need to prepare food because I am hungry.
Same here. So, yeah, people, that is the end of this episode of Lads Discuss Death Battle. What did you think of Ant-Man versus Atom? What do you think of the next time? Who are you rooting for? When the episode comes out, you've probably already decided in the comments. And what did you think about this Dragonborn fight? Dragonborn versus Dragonite. Were we spot on? Were we incompetent debaters? Let's be real, people. When it comes to Lads debate, don't expect, professional, debaters. We're not that. We just find stupid ideas and just throw them to the wind and just argue them. At the end of the day,
or did you think it dragged on a bit?
It probably did. It did drag on, I reckon. But yeah, these Lads debates are just meant to be fun ideas. Realistically, none of us care who wins or who loses. It's just, hey, let's do Dragonborn versus Dragonite and just have fun arguing it. I guess with all that said and done, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here, stick around for more content like this in the future. Mate.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. If you did not enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe. Did you think the Ray Palmer's death was gruesome as hell? Because I did. I mean, Jesus Christ. Who are you rooting for the next fight? And who wins this fight? And why is it Dragonite?
Someone's not bitter.
I honestly don't care. I'm just...
I know. I mean, every time you've done that, you have won the poll. So who knows? Maybe that will happen again. Okay. Sean, do your outro.
Thank you, folks, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Last Discuss Death Battle. Let us know your thoughts on Ant-Man versus the Atom. Who are you going for in Chosen Undead versus the Dragonborn? Because me and Bill are so hyped for this episode to come out.
Damn right.
And in your honest opinion, who won this lads debate? And maybe if you have an idea, we'll get to it in the future. Leave your thoughts down below. Thank you folks for watching. I will see you all later.
I have no funny quip to end this on, so here's a picture of the Master Chief punching, I don't know, Idris Elba. I had no funny way to end this, so there you go.
I was trying to think of something, but I didn't have anything that would work.
I thought you were going to sing the Dragonborn theme, honestly, again.
Tempting, but I'm pretty sure my dignity is going to be shattered if I carry on my nerd thing.